Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to inviting me. And I would like to use the momentum also to introduce the company before I go to the IPO process, because it's all about the sales of stocks. Maybe there are some people in the audience to buy our stocks. Therefore, I would like to start with some slides and then to the process. Yeah, we listed last year in June, and free float is nowadays 33%. Estonian state stayed as a main owner with 67%, and we are landlord port. That's very important. That's part of our story also, that we own the land in all our harbors. We have 5 harbors, and that means that we're offering infrastructure services to the customers, and then our customers, operators, building the superstructure on that. But we own the land. Then we are not very typical port, and there is really difficult to benchmark that we also acting as a ship owner. That means that we own the ships and we're operating domestically between our mainland and islands. And therefore we own 5 ferries and also 1 offshore icebreaker. Then we have some land in our industrial parks and for the real estate development. Already before the IPO, we defined our business areas, and we're running 4 business areas. Passenger business is the biggest in volumes, also in revenues, in EBITDA. And last year result was almost 11 million passengers. With that, we are 4th port in Europe, and cruising part is also is there with 650,000 passengers. Last year was quite successful. On a cruising business, we had 15% growth. It's globally booming. It's very global business, and we have been very attractive port with our old city and port service. Therefore, it's a growth area. Also, total passenger volumes showing tiny growth. And also on cargo, we had last year 7% growth. We have very different cargo. That means our 2 cargo ports are very multifunctional. And then to the shipping business, we actually serve 2 million passengers, 1 million vehicles. Yearly basis, that means it's quite a heavy operation. And then, yeah, this Botnica, what is icebreaker, and it works for wintertime, works for Estonia, and then we got very excellent contract in Canada. We're serving one private company in the very north of Canada. This year happening the same. And then we have industrial parks and also some free available development area around the old city, and we would like to open the tenders there for developers. We are not going to be the developer because we are port. We're focusing on port business, but just to utilize that momentum, we are ready to sign very long-term concession agreements up to 99 years. That's what we do actually with our operators in a port. Our results from last 3 years, what we presented also in roadshow, we have had revenue growth and EBITDA growth. The analytics nowadays follow more, especially this EBITDA and EBITDA margin. Net profit was last year lower because we paid very high dividends to the government, and then we paid the taxes from the dividends. Therefore, the net profit is lower. just show that very important. I will come back in a process to describe why is the story behind the company is very important, and not only the equity story, but the story, what kind of businesses. And part of our story was that we have very good differentiated revenue, diversity of revenue. That means the risks are splitted. And here you see that on passenger side, we have the biggest part of the revenue and EBITDA, and very good customers, honestly, very good customers. On regular lines, Tallinn, Eckerö line, Viking line. And then on cruising business, we basically have all the biggest cruise companies in the world, as a Carnival and Royal Caribbean. They all enter into our port. On cargo side also, last year was very important that HHLA, it's the biggest container terminal in Europe, bought our container terminal in Muuga port. And there are some other players, and also for us it's very important that there are regular shipping lines entering to our ports. And then under the other, it's our offshore business. And on ferries, state of Estonia buys the service from us. Very briefly, what kind of growth opportunities we have. We position us as a dividend company, but always you have to find the growth. And we have possibilities on all 4 areas. On passenger side, we still see the growth in line business and cruising business. Nowadays, line business is supported very many of Asian travelers. They fly with Finnair to Helsinki, and then they visiting Tallinn. And then we started to renovate our passenger terminal. We are going to build this year a cruise terminal, and just recently we implemented a smart port application. That's such a digital solution to manage all the trucks and vehicles in the old city area, because it's in a very middle of the city, and the number of trucks is increasing. Therefore, it's number recognition, Schlagbaum up, and you can drive to the right line and right ship immediately. On cargo side, definitely we have been historically such a transit harbor or port for Russian cargo. We serve a lot of west-east corridor. That's still important corridor, but we're developing north-south very heavily. And I guess we all supporting Rail Baltica, and the starting station for Rail Baltica will be in Muuga. And therefore we see us as a hub for the Scandinavian, Finnish and Swedish cargo, and we have regular lines to Finland and to Sweden. Still Chinese possibilities, LNG, that's the new market, and definitely digitalization of the whole value chain is a key. Then we have growth possibilities in our shipping business. The traffic of people, and thanks to Latvian also visiting Saaremaa and Hiiumaa, the growth is there, and government ordered some extra service last summer, same for this year. And then I mentioned this Botnica, who got a good contract in Canada. Real estate is on the master plan level. We signed the MO with the city government, and now step by step we enter into this business, but that's really future revenues, not the nowadays issue. But then to the IPO. That's, I guess, most important slide, because before the IPO, we really sit down with the politicians, with the government, and with 2 ministers, economy and transportation and finance, and we set the objectives and even the indicators. We really had such an open discussion, and we had very open communication. These are objectives. That's the privatization. That's really the step forward after 20 years. after the Eesti Telecom was listed. And then the first main objective was to really have a new such investment opportunity for Estonian people and pension funds. That was extra focus. Then secondly, to boost local capital market, definitely the stock market, Nasdaq Tallinn. Third, very important, really invite international investors. And that's valid not for us, not for Estonia. We are in a very same boat with you, I mean Latvia and Lithuania, because small economies and we see the view from outside in, from outside, that they see the whole region. I was previously the CEO of Eesti Telecom, and when I met investors already at that time, Eesti Telecom delisted 2010. Already then they saw us as a one region. And when we now had the roadshow, then they really said that where you are so interesting economies, all of you are growing very rapidly, but where are the companies? We just know Tallink. That's it. Yes, we a little bit remember Hansapank, Estonian Telecom, that's it. You are not on a map. Therefore, I guess for such a small economy, for such a small nation, to attract internal investors and investment, that's very, very critical. Therefore, we put it to the target, and via this roadshow, we really played such a, how to say, ambassador role of Estonia also, because there was a lot of questions about Estonian economy, about regional economy, and that's, from my point of view, absolutely crucial and important. And then, of course, efficiency and business focus and transparency of the management of the company, and of course, value of the company. But these four objectives were set, and they really contribute the value not only for the capital market, but for the growth of whole economy as such. Then we sit down and we also set the targets, concrete indicators. We really, together with government people, would like to see some pension funds, then at least 6,000 Estonian retail investors, and then some turnover and value targets on Nasdaq Tallinn. Very briefly about the process, as our previous speaker described the process very well, then maybe I'm not focusing on process, but maybe how we systemized this process and what are the most important steps. Definitely, you have to understand the position of the company on a stock market. Is it dividend or growth story? In our case, we said very honestly that we are a dividend company, very stable infrastructure company, of course, with some growth possibilities. And that's not the only equity story, it's a story about the company. And you have to structure your business very well and really understand the profitability of each business area. And we presented also that during the roadshow. Because, as I already showed you, the passenger business is extremely profitable in margins, but definitely not the local ferry business. And there are a huge difference. Then timing, of course, and in our case it took year, even a little bit more. Then definitely choosing the advisors and partners. I will come back to that. Then legal framework, very important, and the model as such. Segments and segments in terms of segments of different investors, but then the markets, also very important to define. Then, of course, cost for that. And team, it's all about people. It's really all about people. That was tough process, and thanks to our colleagues, we made it happen. But then our position, historically, as a Port of Tallinn, historically has been as a business entity already many years. And we paid out last 10 years, average 30 million euros dividends. Therefore, we have had very nice track behind that. It was a little bit easier to explain that's in our DNA already. We are acting as a business entity. There are no any hidden agendas. We're not paying nothing to the local municipalities or the state. It's pure dividend. We own the land. We have all the licenses what is needed for the agreements. Therefore, we fixed already before the roadshow dividend policy, pay out at least 30 million in coming 2 years, and then at least 70% from net profit. And our proposal for this year's AGM is 35, because we had very good result last year, and therefore we're a little bit overpaying, or we have the proposal for the AGM. Then you see we had one extra dividend from last year, pre-IPO dividend for the government. But that was described, and investors took it very normally, no problem. It was quite obvious. Yes, that's the very busy slide, and you are asking where is the bar. I'm not going to explain it, but as previous speaker said, very important is due diligence, and very important is this prospectus. And in our case, the prospectus was 340 pages. That's tough. And honestly, the full of different legal regulations, and oh, Jesus Christ. But we even did that, and we had it, and as we also introduced us in United States, in US, therefore there are additional regulations, but at least 1 year to prepare the company, plus prepare all the IPO necessary steps. Advisors. In our case, the syndicate was quite big. First of all, we wanted to cover all the markets, and we had a tender, and we selected city for UK and US, and they did good job. They did good job. Then Carnegie for Scandinavia, of course, Estonia, and then shipment and ports, they are very well known, but still, I guess also Carnegie did very good job. Erste in Central Europe, also very well, and then Swedbank and LHV for retail Estonia, mainly. A little bit LHV for Baltics also, but mainly they did retail part in Estonia. Then legal advisors, financial advisors, auditor was our auditor, industrial research, that was tiny job, not so big, PR advisor, and as retail was very important, then retail marketing advisor. Legal framework. I am not the lawyer, I am the engineer, and therefore I am not stopping there so much. That was also tough, but there was need to change State Asset Act. Then we changed the articles of association of the company. There was some restriction of information sharing, definitely. Security Market Act locally, and insider list. That's also important to remember. And here you see our shares before the IPO and after. Very important, defined the segments. And as we wanted to cover quite broadly the segments and markets, then we're living in a marketing area. You have to understand the messages for the different segments. Therefore, one part was institutional part, local and international, and then retail. and definitely the retail part, and mainly local, was very different from that. And of course, different activities followed. We, during the roadshow and pre-meetings, we introduced Estonian economy and even the region. We promoted then our business drivers, growth opportunities, very clear message on dividend policy. Also very important was, and there was a lot of questions about the board, how independent is the board, supervisory board and management board. And then that was very nice from our side to introduce that even before the IPO, our supervisory board was independent, no politicians, mainly business people, and two of these, and chairman of the supervisory board with experience from listed company. That was, I guess, very good sign. And on management board, we are three of us, and I'm also with experience from Estonian Telecom. Then we had 110 meetings in 11 cities, and that was organized quite well by the banks, I would say. All the meetings were there, and we didn't miss any meetings. We had problem with small delay, 7 minutes in London, but that's it. And huge interest, honestly. Maybe it's more in this period we are a little bit more stable infrastructure company, but still I would say that was a huge interest to whole region. Therefore, I felt such a very good atmosphere everywhere. Even in New York, we had one day in New York what was very successful, and that worked especially for the aftermarket. And then we had such an open days in a port. We invited future private investors to the port area to show our operations, and yeah, we had very open communication. And then we had retail offer activities. We made a working group and such a proactive communication with different channels. And we have a massive campaign also, because we had quite a tough task to have retailers. That was actually the wish and target from government side. Yeah, some such slides that it's my port, my ships, and to a little bit be closer to the older ladies and younger guys, and yeah, that's my ship, I'm driving with my ship, and yeah, you know. Then outcome. Here you see the IPO value or revenue, and what is very important, we got 14,000 investors, yeah, almost 1% of Estonians subscribed, and it subscribed almost 4 times. That was also, demand was very high for institutional investors and from the individuals. Then also good news is there is more than 5,000 new security accounts opened during the process. And of course we had a budget for the IPO. That's a sensitive issue. We definitely followed cost and reported to the owner, to the government, and that was some 6.5% from IPO revenue, what was a little bit under the average international practice. And for us, very important as a global business, as an international business, was this positive media coverage, not only locally but globally. And then we got some rewards also. If we measure our target-based indicators, then the result was really good. There was 3 Estonian pension funds plus 4 Estonian funds. Then, as I mentioned, 14,000 retail owners, And then we achieved also good turnover in Tallinn and also in Baltic in this period. The shareholder structure, that's by the end of the March. The second biggest came JP Morgan from America. EBRD was second. You have to a little bit rethink that. You're welcome to compete with JP Morgan. But then SEB different funds, we don't know exactly what are behind that. But then LAGV pension funds and the LCV customers. And if you take the split between the different institutions and retail, then it was quite precisely what we promised to the government. And what we really achieved. It was 20% from IPO volume retail part, and totally now stays on 7%. That's almost what we expected. Therefore, we covered international funds, Estonian retail, and pension funds. That was such a target. And yeah, we landed quite well. We are happy with that. And we increased our market capitalization or value because the share price is up almost 30% from the IPO price. And of course, the first month was very active. Now it's a bit calming down, but still quite active. And here we are. Thank you.